Alright. It's time for that once yearly adventure into animation, except not actually animation, it's just stills of poorly drawn images. Let's go! So let me tell you about the times I almost died. I have lived what I would believe to be a pretty modest life, where I've planned out my actions to the point where, the likelihood of death would probably be, 2%. 2% on most days, right? I mean, I do drink a lot of diet pop. I am a big fan of Mango Pepsi Zero. And I drink a lot of that. So, if there's, some sort of study that comes out in the next 10 years that says that Mango Pepsi actually causes cancer, and I'm dead, and I just randomly stop posting videos someday, you'll understand what happened. Anyway, but there have been a few times where I have come close to tickling the tips of death's fingers. Alright, I have been close. I have been tempted, but I've refused each time. Let me tell you about the closest that I've ever come to death. I was in science class one day, and we were in the lab area, right? And I don't even know what we were talking about. It literally doesn't matter. I don't care at all, and I didn't care then, I don't care now. And one of my best friends ever, absolute legend, his work actually made an appearance in one of my videos, in one of my old school stuff videos. He made me a picture once, and I still appreciate that. And since that video's been uploaded, I haven't had a chance to tell him how much I appreciate it. And that is depressing. Okay, that alone is depressing. However, the point that I'm trying to make is that man was equally as bored as I was during this science lab in ninth grade or something. He's standing right next to me, dude. This fucking legend. He sticks a fork into the power outlet on the table, on the lab table. He's a literal fork. I don't know where he got the fork. Forks aren't generally something you find in a science lab, right? I don't know what kind of experiments they do with silverware in science. I mean, I'm no expert. I didn't get no PhD, all right? I got an arts degree. You think I know about science? My point. Where'd he get the fork? Why'd he stick it in? And that happened right next to me. When it happened, it sounded like an explosion went off and the lights went black for a second. And when I looked over at him, and he had a look on his face like, I didn't think that would actually do it. Oh, Jason, man, I love you, dude. We need to get together again, man. We need to do something stupid, dude. Seriously, take me back to the days. Take me back to high school with Jason. That's a good enough sitcom in itself, right there. So, being mere inches away from a explosion caused from electrical circulation, if you think that was the closest that I've ever come to death, well, you'd be wrong. I think I had asthma. I was diagnosed with asthma, but it just kind of never did anything. It never actually affected my life, except for twice. 2 times having asthma actually made a difference in my life. And I don't remember one of them, but the other one I specifically remember. I don't know the circumstances of the first one, but the second time I was playing Ultimate Spider-Man on PS2. I think I'm 9, 10 years old when this is happening, right? And I'm just playing Ultimate Spider-Man, as you do. And suddenly, I can't breathe. It hurts to inhale. And I'm laying on the ground wait, what? And trying to breathe in. Just breathing in was not possible. It hurt to breathe. Now, that was fine for the first, 20 seconds. And then you realize, wait a minute. I'm a human. I need to breathe. And then you try and breathe, but it hurts too much. It hurts more to breathe than it did to suffocate, is what I'm trying to make clear here. And it felt like this lasted for a very long time, but since it was such a crisis moment, my perception of time was probably off, so it probably took less than like a minute for the symptoms to appear and then dissipate. Literally 2 times in my life, and it was, and I'm almost certain that these 2 asthma attacks, I don't know if it was an asthma attack. That's like, I didn't even know how to define what was happening. I remember going to my mom and being like, hey, so like, I couldn't breathe just now. Is that a problem? I'm pretty sure my mom was just like, you're fine. Because, that's how things usually went whenever I had an issue in life. It's a wonder how I didn't die, growing up, now come to think of it. But anyway, I'm pretty sure like I was watching a commercial for something, and it was like, asthma attacks are when you can't breathe or something, and then like my 2 brain cells like managed to make that connection between those incidents in my life, and I was like, oh, I had an asthma attack. Ouch. But like, I haven't been affected by asthma at all in my life besides that. I've never been athletic, so I never really, like ran or anything. Like, I'm certain that the asthma attack did not happen due to being winded or anything. So, not being able to breathe, kinda bad. Was it a close brush with death? Maybe. I don't know. If that pain never subsided, if I literally could not breathe, I probably would have been dead within a few minutes. So, yes, I would say that is a close encounter with death. That's just my layman opinion on that one. The reason that I bring the asthma attack, quote unquote, up is because I've really never had any other health issues. I remember like when I was 3, I got an x-ray once, because I specifically remember being in the room and them telling me not to move, but I like wasn't strapped down to anything. So I just laid there, but I didn't want to lay there because I distinctly remember starting to cry. But I remember a lot of this incident. I remember so much of this incident. It's weird because I remember laying on the table and being like, I don't want to do this. But like, I wasn't like in distress or anything. I just started crying is all. Like if you've watched the Kindergarten Stories video, you'll notice that's a theme throughout my childhood. So I mean, it's really not that surprising, but like I'm just wondering, why I was crying about that. But yeah, like I got x-rays taken once and like nothing came of that apparently. So, yay. Yeah, I've really never had any real health issues, apart from the obesity, apart from the childhood obesity. Like, the sickest that I've ever been would be, I got something from school, because that's where you always get this kind of shit, and, like, I literally remember, like, the day this happened, like, we were in music class, and we had to do, like, a partner paper or something, so, like, the partner that I got, like, we did the assignment, and I pretty much did everything, because, that's the kind of kid that I was, and... like a couple of hours later, like right before lunch, like that kid that I did the assignment with went to the teacher going, "Hey, I'm sick. I think I need to go home." And that was at that exact moment that I realized, uh-oh. I remember I was eating a caramel apple sucker at the end of the school day. Like we were getting read to by the teacher, because I guess that's stuff that happens in 3rd grade is the teacher reads to you. And I remember I was having that caramel apple sucker and I was like, my stomach hurts, and I threw it away. I threw away that caramel apple sucker. And you want to know why that was such a significant moment? It's because I fucking loved caramel apple suckers. I would never throw one of those away. Ever. So it was serious. And yeah, I managed to make it home, and I remember this entire fucking day, dude, like down to the T. This was such a significant moment in my life. I rode the bus home to school, or the other way around, and I got home and I started playing Juiced. I just turned on Juiced. I was gonna start playing it, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't handle it, dude. I fucking went in the bathroom. And I threw up in the sink. Not the toilet, but the sink. I threw up in the sink. I'm not sure where I was going with that. For the rest of the day, I was throwing up like on the hour. And this is significant because I'm pretty sure I threw up more that day than I have on any other day of my entire life. Like, that's how sick I was. And I remember we, like, my cousins were gonna come over and visit us for like the first time in 2 years. And like, I threw up, and I remember my mom had to call them to be like, maybe you shouldn't come. And like, I remember specifically, she was doing that phone call while I was throwing up at one point, and she was like, and he's doing it again. And I was so mad because I wanted to see them. Those cousins were awesome. I loved them. I loved those cousins. And they did come, actually. I got better like the next day. My classmates weren't so lucky. Like, one of them apparently had to go to the ER or something, or maybe that's just being a kid over exaggerating shit. I don't know. We have spent way too much on this topic. Can we stop talking about throwing up? Because we all know that most near-death experiences come while you're like traveling, right? While you're in a motorized transportation device, okay? We all know that most people die while driving. And I have some near-death experiences while driving, believe it or not. One time, I don't remember how old I was. I was probably a teenager at this point, and we were driving somewhere. I was in the back seat, and while we were on the highway, someone pulled out to pass the person in the oncoming lane, right? And that's the thing that you do on the highway, you pass people. Well, the problem is that this guy decided that I'm not actually going to, step on the fucking gas pedal and go. I'm just going to sit in the oncoming lane. Guess who they were barreling straight towards? Take a guess. Take a guess. I bet you'll get the answer correct. It was us. We were in the lane that they were coming directly towards, and the guy in the other lane, that he was trying to pass was, having none of it, obviously. Like, why? Wouldn't you think that you would, like, slow down a little bit, just, like, give some fucking assistance? No, you're just gonna let them run head on into these people. Okay, cool. So what happened is the guy that pulled out to pass drove off the road to our right, and we split the middle in between them. And this guy is off in the dirt, kicking up dirt. He manages to drive back onto the highway without any incident, probably behind the guy he was trying to pass, right? And I remember being in the car like, shouldn't we be like, more concerned about this? I don't know who was driving, but my parents in the front seat, obviously, and they're like, oh, that was not good. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there like, did I almost die? Yes. Yes, young Kamikaze, you did almost die. And believe it or not, this is not. I think I've actually come closer to death than this, in a metaphorical sense, while driving. One time in high school, I think this was like around prom, because like the chick that I went to prom with junior year, we were like super best friends. Not best friends, but like super duper good friends from like first grade. So like we've known each other for years, and like we know each other very well at this point. She actually transitioned a few years ago, which I'm really, really happy to hear that. But we were in we were in their pickup, and there's this road that was actually right next to my house, interestingly enough, and it was a dirt road, right? And it was a very interesting hill, where the shape of the hill was such that if you go over like the hill at regular speed, like you can it's a really sharp decline, and you can actually feel yourself kind of raise out of the seat whenever you go at a normal speed, like what you would usually go like 45. We went over this hill at 75. And this is like a regular dirt road. Like, it's not even wide. It's like a car width and a half wide. And we barrel over this hill at 75 miles an hour. And I'm pretty sure the wheels lifted off. This is like a 2009 Ford F-150 that we're driving right now. And we got the wheels off the ground. And right after it happened, I was sitting there like, wow, that was cool. Wait a second. This was a blind hill. And if someone was coming in the other direction, we literally would not have known. Like, there was no way to see before you hit the hill if there's someone on the other side. So if there had been someone else driving in the direction towards us, we would have just hit them head on at 75 miles an hour. And I'm sitting there like, hang on. Hang on. Yeah, so in a metaphorical sense, like, given like all the surrounding, situation going on there, like just the unknown factor that someone, and like it's like a road out of town that like probably 5 people will ever drive on in a day. But still, that wasn't very safe. And this is, interestingly, not the strangest story that I have of me driving and almost getting in a life-threatening accident. One day, I don't even know what I was doing. I was probably like just going to get the mail or something. And I was actually driving my mom's car. And this was like right after my mom got a new vehicle. So, it was all fancy and stuff. And like it had Sirius XM radio. And I was listening to, liquid metal on full blast, right? Just like any 16-year-old would do, And just in a normal intersection that we always would drive on. I would always use this route to get to work at the grocery store. So like I've taken this route 100, 200 times since moving to this house, right? And, I just look both ways and go to turn and no one's coming. No one's coming. I stop, look both ways, no one's coming. So I pull out to go, and as I'm turning, like a blinding flash of light, this late 90s boxy white van comes barreling past at full speed. And I'm just like, what? Like, I don't even see it in the right side of the window, I saw it once it got to the windshield, and like I'm halfway out into the road at this point. So there's no way that, and like there's only one road that it could have come from, and it's past a big curve. Okay? There's nowhere that it could have come from. There's no way that between the time of me looking and pulling out into the road that this guy could have come around the corner and get to me. It's not possible. And I mean, nothing comes from it. He just blows past, and like I just keep driving. What the fuck just happened? And the best part about this story is that it happened while I was driving my mom's car, and I'm like, if I fucking crashed and died in my mom's car, mere feet from our house, the pastor would have a very difficult time getting that one across at the funeral. By the way, if I die like within the next 5 years, please play Magnify Bradbury Heights at my funeral, all right? Just putting that out there. If anyone watching this video, can someone write that down for me, please? Actually, no, forget that. Play anything by Imagine Dragons at my funeral, and I swear on God that I will rise out of the coffin just to turn that off, all right? Just gonna put that out there, okay? I have been attacked by dogs in the past. A few times, not too many times, honestly. All things considered, all the dogs that are out there in the world, the amount that have tried to attack me are probably like less than 1% of all the dogs I've ever seen, I've ever interacted with, There was this one time, I was on my bike, as you do. I was probably like 8, I'm gonna say. And I was on my bike, and I was riding past his house. I always drove past, all right? I thought that I had gotten complete control over these dogs. Like, over the course of several months, I'd been training these dogs to leave me the fuck alone. And just by, screaming stop at them, literally, that's all it took, is that if I told the dogs to stop, they'd stop. It was that easy, literally. That's all I had to do. This day, it did not go like that. I told the dog to stop. The dog didn't stop. I told the dog to stop again. Usually after the second time that I say stop, it would stop. Today was different. No matter what I said to the dog, it did not stop. It was coming at me. It did. It met the challenge. The dog came at me. After about the third or fourth time that I told it to stop, that was when I realized today is the day. Today's the day that it's all been building up to. We had a good 8 years. 8 solid years. I lived a good life, dude. So the dog drove me off into the ditch, and this dog is not fucking off. And once I fell off the bike, it did fuck off. And at that point, I was like, man, honestly, just kill me at this point. Nothing came of that, though. I just went back home and, I told my mom, and my mom probably, called the homeowners association or something. I don't know, dude. It was, right next to our house, too, which was the most frustrating part. I drove past these fucking dogs every single day that I was riding my bike. And this bitch dog just fucking decided that it was done following orders. It was going to rise up. It was going to do that thing in Detroit Become Human where it stops following the orders and it breaks out of the cycle, you know? The fridge just stopped making noise for the first time this entire recording, and it's very quiet suddenly. I've been on a few planes, you know. I was on 2 planes my entire life until the Texas trip, and then that added 6 plane trips into my itinerary there. The worst experience that I had was looking out the window while I was right next to a window on the wing seat, and I looked out at the wing, and I'm just seeing this shabby little thin piece of metal flapping in the wind, and I'm just like, is it supposed to do that? I literally had to stop looking at this. That was the moment that I realized, maybe I don't need a window seat. But that's not the closest, plane. The amount of time that I've spent in a plane is probably the most safe that I've ever been in my entire existence, if we're gonna be honest. Okay. One time, I got a chance to ride in a helicopter. Oh, man. And I was with my grandpa, who I don't think I've mentioned on the story times. I've mentioned many different people on story times, but I don't think I've ever mentioned my grandpa. He's fine. We were in South Dakota, right? And we were just taking a tour of the Grand Ole area there, you know. We were towards the end of the trip, and there was a place that gave helicopter rides, and I don't know how much it costs, but it was probably a lot. But we just stopped there and was like, yo, I want to do a helicopter ride. And then the person at the desk said, oh, all of our helicopters are pieces of shit and we're fixing them. So it's gonna take 2 hours for you to be able to do it. So we sat around in this rinky-dink building for 2 hours waiting for them to do whatever it was that they needed to do with the helicopter, right? And I'm bored as shit, right? But I'm determined. I do not want to leave until I've rode on this helicopter. The time finally comes. I'm excited. We get into the helicopter and he tries to take off. He gets about 5 feet off the ground and suddenly the helicopter just flies. I don't know what verb to use to describe this, but it just pushes off in one direction. And he has to emergency slam on the helicopter brakes and bring us back down to the ground. And we hit pretty hard. I could feel the hit when we landed. And we're halfway, we're not even on a helipad. We're in grass right now, just sitting here, and the helicopter's sideways, and at any moment the thing could tip over and the blades could completely get obliterated, right? And I'm sitting there is this part of the ride? It was at that moment that they were you sure you want to go on this ride? And dude, I've been sitting here for 2 hours. I'm getting this helicopter ride if it kills me. Literally, if it kills me. Amazingly, the rest of the helicopter ride went fine. We saw some cool stuff. We went around and we saw Mount Rushmore, and it was oh, it was really cool. I barely remember it. It was actually probably very boring. But I was in 4th grade, so yeah. Yeah. And thinking back on that, I'm if we just tipped just a little bit more when we were, careening into the earth after barely making it up 5 feet into the air right at the start, the entire rest of the ride went perfectly fine. We didn't even come close to dying for the rest of the helicopter ride. But that moment where we took off and we're basically careening straight back to the earth, I think that moment right there might have been the closest I've ever come to death. I really think it was because, you know, Kobe died in a helicopter. Like, what's stopping me? Seriously. Like, come on. What was I thinking? Just the rugged determination of me sitting in a boring-ass cubbyhole building to ride in a helicopter for 2 hours. I didn't care. If I died, I was dying in the helicopter. Not of boredom. I was not dying of boredom. Anyway, that's more than enough for this video. Hopefully that was interesting enough to keep you tided over for the next story time video. I'm sorry, guys. I want to make more of these, but I'm just terrible. I'm just terrible. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in whatever it is I make next. Bye!